Hey there and welcome back to another Daredevil Born Again video. And today we're going to be looking at episode 3, The Hollow of His Hand, which largely follows the trial of Hector Ayala, aka White Tiger, and picks up from the big cliffhanger ending of the last episode, where Matt beat the hell out of those corrupt cops who'd tried to kill him. Not really much else to say beyond that, so with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode with a scene with Matt and Hector just before the trial's scheduled to start. It's not a scene that really advances the story, it doesn't forward the plot. What it does do, though, is really start to endear you to Hector as he tells Matt about his favourite place back in Puerto Rico. A beach with white sand, palm trees, and thousands of little tree frogs. It paints a really beautiful and serene visual. I think in the previous episode, whilst you do see that Hector's obviously a stand-up guy, you don't dig any deeper than that. This gives you a chance to explore more of his personality and makes you care about him on a deeper level. It gets you invested in him from the get-go, and then when he gets killed at the end of the episode, it makes you angry. Angry at the injustice. It makes you want to see these cops get punished. It makes you want to see Matt snap and return as Daredevil in a more brutal way. Wonderful scene, and having looked up that frog call like probably everybody else who watched the episode, I have to agree, it's a beautiful sound. Top tier acting from this guy as well. Such a shame he passed away, a great performance. After the credits, we get into some Underworld activities with a bunch of random characters that don't seem to have much overall relevance, but who I suppose serve as a reflection of what's going on in the city. That the Fisk Empire is starting to lose power, because everything's being focused on Wilson's career as the mayor. What was once dealt with in a meeting with Vanessa is now being solved in violent confrontations, like we see here. What an idiot that guy was, trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. Maybe roll up your window first, if that's what you're going to do. Once again, the show didn't hold back on the gore. Driver got a big old blood splatter before he too got whacked. You reckon they were always going to kill these guys, or they were just shaking them down at first and got violent when they got resistant? Judging by what the guy said, it's probably the second one. We then move over to the Fisk house where Wilson is once again eating his very, very sad breakfast, and having some awkward small talk with his wife, which moves into her hinting she wants to get back into some criminal endeavours, this time laundering money through art sales. He in turn wants to stay the course. He claims he's reaching for higher goals and thinks that the criminal enterprises need to remain low-key for that to work. They can't get involved in it all. The murder that we saw previously, it's a breaking of the peace that Vanessa said is going to lead to more violence as they all jostle for power. And while Fisk thinks that's fine and they should let it just burn itself out as they kill each other, Vanessa believes that once there's a new top dog, they're going to come after Fisk to assert themselves. So here we have that difference. Clearly she wants to handle it personally, to become the kingpin. He wants to stay out of it though and resolve it in other ways, such as the police. I feel like this is building to something big. Either there's going to be a point that Fisk snaps and reverts in some way, which I feel is hinted at by his bloody knuckles, and the fact that the scene then cuts away to Matt washing his own bloody knuckles from when he snapped against the cops and was left with no choice. So the idea would be that Fisk has to stop repressing his violent nature, or we're going to see Vanessa go against his wishes and make some moves of her own, which I think is just as likely. She does not seem content with how her life is currently turning out. She wants to be involved in this underbelly of society. She feels useful there. Powerful. The scene then moves to Matt, who's washing his hands in the bathroom before the trial, only to be confronted by Powell, the cop that survived the platform battle with White Tiger, and who also got his ass whooped by Matt not long before. I feel like this dude should be way more injured though, right? He got blitzed. His head smashed into the fridge multiple times, left a huge red smear, then he got tossed onto his head with a pretty sickening crunchy sound. At first, I thought he was dead. Regardless, I hate this guy. Imagine being so arrogant as to go up to Matt and try to threaten him into being thrown off the case for interfering with an investigation after you get rinsed so thoroughly. And you just think he's some random blind guy. I know from the trailer that the Punisher is going to be turning up in the story at some point. I need him to kill this smug dumbass. That'll put a smile on my face. We briefly check in with Cherry, who's at a safe house with their star witness. A star witness who needs drugs to help him function properly for their court date. This does not bode well at all. We don't have long to stew on it because then it's off to court to check out Powell's witness questions. Of course, the DA does his best to get the jury to view Powell in a sympathetic light. He talks about his long-term service on the police force, 15 years serving the community, how he's received 3 commendations of excellence, 2 for community service and 1 for integrity. I will admit it gave me a very good giggle that he has a commendation for integrity.
No, that's German for the Bart. The.
No one who speaks German could be an evil man.
The corrupt cop winning an integrity award. They frame him and his partner as being selfless people, volunteering to work on New Year's Eve despite their seniority because there's so many other cops that have families they'd want to be home with. So they position this guy as a team player. They play on the sympathy of their friendship as he recounts his lie of what went down that night. My God, they wrote this scene so well. He is so hateable, and the way they manipulate events to try to curry favour is so insidious, especially since we all know this guy's trash. Then Matt gets his turn to question, and he starts off by taunting him about his black eye. before he starts to ask him if he and his partner had truly been alone that night, if he was 100% sure of that, and then asks him about Nikki Torres. Matt reveals that Torres is a police informant that Powell had worked with before, but Powell denies knowing him, but in such a way and with such a long pause that there's absolutely zero chance that anybody in that room bought it. Hell, even the DA was giving him this look, where it's like at that moment he realized that this guy is absolutely full of shit. I think we then skip ahead in the timeline a little bit, maybe to the next day or maybe to a recess in the courtroom. Because now they're waiting on the arrival of Nikki Torres to be questioned on the events of that night. Of course, the cops don't want him to be there, and so they try to follow Cherry with the express goal of killing Nikki, and likely killing Cherry too. I love this part. It's a bit of a low-action episode, but this gets your blood pumping and that adrenaline flowing. In the courtroom, Matt and Kirsten are panicking that he's not going to arrive, as we cut back and forth to the chase. Then you have that sinking feeling when Powell pulls them over that this is it. Whilst they probably wouldn't be killing off the characters, they're going to arrive too late to do anything about it. They'll miss their chance, or Nikki's gonna pull a runner. That's why this fake out is so awesome to me, because that sinking feeling turns into hype and excitement so quickly. It's a really well written scene. Then it's followed up with such a good court sequence. You're still riding high off of this, and you think, oh yeah, here we go. They're gonna get Hector off, and then we're gonna have some sort of action sequence where they have to protect Hector from corrupt cops and get him out of New York City maybe. Matt's asking all the right questions, and is about to blow this case wide open as a slam dunk. And the witness flakes out and he gives into his fear. Oh, bro, come on. If you're going to play it like that, you should just let him die. Should have just let him die. I know that there's going to be no consequences for this guy at the end, but man, it had me so salty. The show's getting really good at manipulating my emotions. It gets me fired up, but then also takes me on that emotional roller coaster ride. We briefly check in with the gang war, where the British assistant guy summoned all the heads of the crime gangs underneath the Fisk together to tell them to stop and to make peace. A scene to briefly try to show that it seems that Fisk is on top of things, although it's later revealed that Vanessa actually did all of this. I'm curious as to what happens next here though. Is Vanessa going to betray Fisk? Is he going to get sucked back in? Maybe one of these goons tries their luck, or tries to kill Vanessa maybe. Tracksuit guy seems to be the best bet on that score. Good chance he gets Fisk to smush him like a grape. Also, does it feel like this assistant guy definitely has an expiration date? I mean, I could be wrong, but does he get done like Wesley did, or is he going to linger through the show for a while? Catching up with Matt and the team, they realise that they are well and truly screwed. All they have is Hector's testimony to go off, and they need to call him as a witness to tell his side of the story. So it looks bad, and this is where I started to wonder, are they actually going to send him to prison? Maybe he was going to go to prison, he gets killed there, and this could start Matt creeping towards Daredevil again. I don't know. I keep waiting for this moment where it feels like there's going to be an obvious crack in the facade. The first waiver of his decision to retire from being a vigilante. But I'm probably chasing shadows at the moment. I doubt it's going to happen until the end of the season. Then it's over to therapy with the Fisks. Heather's not there yet, so this is a pre-appointment scene. Seems their relationship is still not going all that well. Here we learn that it was Vanessa that sent Buck to tell the crime lords how it was going to be and to simmer down the tensions. Fisk says, yeah, he gets it, but he's still angry about it. They argue, with her thinking he's punishing her, with him denying that fact. So yeah, I really think this is going to end with a soft betrayal. I don't think she's going to try to kill him or anything, but I suspect she's going to take charge of the crime side of things in a big way and make a lot of noise that makes things difficult for him. We'll see though. Back to court now for Hector Ayala's testimony. We learned that he was going to take flowers to his new apartment and surprise his wife the next day, but he jumped into action when he saw somebody in trouble. Matt then spins this as proof of his character, as he intervenes in dangerous situations many times as the White Tiger, which was something that Matt had specifically got the judge to disallow earlier. The jury was not supposed to learn this. So from the judge's perspective, Matt has gone out of his way to deceive him, to weaken the prosecution's position, and spring this at the last second. I've seen a bunch of people say it felt out of character for Matt to do this to Hector, but I think I disagree. I feel like Matt's characterization shows that he'll avoid something like this if he can, but when he has no other choice, and he's backed into a corner, he'll do what needs to be done. It's very much the same context as the cops in that apartment in episode 2. But in this context, it was either lose and see this guy get a life sentence, or do the reveal and potentially have a chance at winning. It's not like it'll put him in any more danger if it doesn't work. If it does work though, well, that's a price, isn't it? The two then have a really interesting discussion about how being White Tiger for Hector is a calling. It's not a choice. Matt argues he can give it up, and that it's for the best for his family, that he won't miss it, and there are other ways to help other than being a vigilante. So really, felt like this scene is Matt talking to a version of himself. In this scene, Hector's representing the true nature that Matt's fighting against. The hero side wants to be free. He knows he can't turn away from it. But Matt's logic and trauma say no, I can't be that. Foggy died because of that. I do feel as if Hector's death is going to be the first crack in this facade. Or maybe it'll be proof that he thinks that you shouldn't be a vigilante because it puts people in danger. We'll see. Back at the trial, we have a montage of how much Hector as White Tiger has helped people. He's a hero for the little guy. He's not fighting cosmic threats or big villains. He's just doing the everyday work to help people. He saved a family from a burning car, prevented a woman from potentially being raped or murdered. There's multiple reports from different police officers about how he saved them or helped them when nobody else would. Even got a Morales reference, which was fun. Matt then has a pretty top-tier monologue, where he professes Hector's innocence, which is followed up with another great monologue from the DA. My god, the writing for the dialogue and the speeches in this episode, and this show in general, have really been great. It feels so different to everything I've seen from the MCU before. Some people have called it slow, but I'm loving the slow burn we're getting. How they're putting the pieces in place and building to something big. We get a cool transitional scene where Matt holds his devil horn and plays with it in the empty courtroom, mulling over everything, before we come to the day of the verdict. And this scene was so good, so much tension, and they kept each pause between not guilty going just long enough you were never quite sure. I wavered so much going back and forth of whether he'd get found guilty of something. That first lingering pause before saying not guilty to murder, I was just screaming back and forth. Guilty, not guilty, guilty, not guilty. Oh, they got me good with this. Everyone's happy and hugging, and it leaves you feeling so good. Justice prevailed. I know I should have suspected here, but it gets you to lower your guard. I was kind of waiting for him to get shot on the steps of the courthouse, but then nothing happened. So I figured the worst of it was going to be Fisk ranting to BB on her news report thingy. We get a cute little scene with Heather and Matt celebrating the win and remembering Foggy together. And this is yet another scene that's bittersweet and warms your heart just enough to throw you off the scent about what's going to happen. Really clever writing here, especially when Matt's all happy about how this is proof the system sometimes works, only for Ayala to get nailed that night by a corrupt cop posing as Punisher. Because then it's just a really ominous Fisk monologue to end it, combined with White Tiger suiting up and going to work, only to get shot in the head when you least suspect it. I mean, the camera was kind of zoomed out at this point. It's not the usual shot selection for when a character's going to bite it. For some people, maybe it was very expected. But for me, not so much. Holy shit. Also, it does set you up to make you suspect it's Punisher, but then also that it's Fisk. But I don't think it's going to be connected to either of them. Maybe it's actually Vanessa? Cleaning up the vigilantes to keep her operation secure? Or hell, maybe it's just the corrupt cops. Either way, what an ending! Left me feeling heartbroken and furious and kind of hollow for a while. But also eager to see the follow-up and how Matt's going to react to it all. Will he suspect Fisk after this? Considering what he says here, guess we'll have to wait and see. And so with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now let's hear yours. What did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.